Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw. Today I'm reviewing the brand new studio album from Slipknot entitled .5 The Great Chapter. Finally, this band is back. Finally. Anyways, let's jump into this brand new record from Slipknot. So, 6 long years we've all been waiting for this brand new album, or for something from this band. We've all been patiently waiting, like, is it going to be something? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be this time? Are they going to be in the studio? Are they not in the studio? We just didn't know what was happening. And finally, the day is upon us. Finally, we are here to rejoice in new Slipknot. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of sad things that have happened in between the last release to now, the brand new studio album. As we all know, unfortunately, Paul Gray has passed away, and Joey left the band during the planning productions of this brand new record. So we have a new bass player, and we have a new drummer. And there's been a lot of speculations about who's the bass player, who's the drummer. There's been a lot of theories, and apparently it's confirmed who the bass player is. But the band has not confirmed it, so I'm going to go with that. It's a new bass player and a new drummer, and we're going to stick with that. So, 14 tracks. 16 if you buy a deluxe edition, and apparently there's more tracks if you buy a super deluxe edition, or I don't know. There's a bunch of bonus stuff you can get through this record, but the standard edition includes 14 songs, so right on there, the standard edition has a lot of material. And I guess a lot of the questions that are on people's mind, I guess the biggest question, there's a lot of questions on people's minds about this record, you know, is it going to feature this? What's, like, is it going to be a full tribute album for Paul Gray, because, you know, it's named The Great Chapter? Is it going to be this, and this? For me, the way I took this album is, it's not just a Paul Gray tribute album, which it is a great tribute album for him. They really do a lot of really cool things, and you can obviously tell that Paul Gray was in their mind 100% of the time throughout this entire music. But .5 The Great Chapter is not just a 100% Paul Gray tribute. You could say it is, but it's more than that. It's a Paul Gray tribute. It's a great comeback from the band. It's a great refresh of a start, in a way, to where they're kind of going back to the roots. They're kind of restarting the Slipknot train and getting it rolling. And basically this whole entire album is just 14 tracks of Slipknot, and then the bonus tracks is just more bonus for what you're getting on top of the actual product is here. You know, a lot of fans didn't know if this day was going to happen, if Slipknot was ever going to come back, and they're here, and this album is truly amazing. And I want to say real quick before we continue on with my review and my thoughts on this record, if you're one of the fans that have already said, nope, not going to listen to it, nope, they should have stopped the band when Paul Gray died, or if you're one of those other fans that say they should have stopped the band because Joey left, so now it's not Slipknot. If you're one of those people, I understand why you're saying that and thinking that, and why you're saying no to this album. But what I will say is that I think you are basically pushing yourself away from a pretty damn good record. An album I think you will enjoy. So, you need to at least give it one listen for the fact that it is a Paul Gray tribute, and go from there. For me, like I said, I listed off all the things this album is, and this album is all those things. What I took from this album, there's a lot of emotion, lyrically and musically, and that's obvious because of the tribute factor of this album. But I feel like that there's a lot of just emotions. There's anger, there's depression, there's confusion, and overlaying all these emotions that go on throughout this album, whether it's lyrically or musically, is this darkness. There's a lot of darkness on this album, and whether you want to attribute that to the melodic peaceful sections that just sound very gloomy and dark, there's that. And then when it's the actual dark and heavy and hectic riffs that's going on through the intense tracks, the darkness is over that too. There's a lot of darkness on this album, and I think that that's because the band doesn't know, you know, how they feel about this, because they wanted to make another album, but, you know, it's really hard to make an album when one of your brothers is gone and he's never going to come back, and then one of your other brothers, who's been a part of the band for a long time, just leaves. So it's just kind of, it's confusion. You can definitely tell that. But this album doesn't feel confused. It just, like, there's a lot of emotions they're trying to get out there, and I think they're trying to get it throughout in a positive way through the music, rather than through doing something, you know, that they would regret later in life. You know, this album just has so many things going on within it that it doesn't matter how little or how big of a Slipknot fan you are, or what type of Slipknot fan you are, like what album you're you're the biggest fan of, or an album that features this type of element. Everything that Slipknot has done throughout their careers is present on this record. Mostly it's the older stuff. All Hope Is Gone, That's a little bit present throughout the record a little bit, but it's mainly the older style Slipknot that you're going to see a lot throughout this record. But there are some peaceful and slow down moments that you may not be a fan of. You may be a fan of the hectic, crazy Slipknot going all crazy all the time. That's on this record. It is. But if you're a fan of the peaceful and slow style of Slipknot and that side of the band where they kind of really go a very melodic driven route where everything's peaceful, there's no heavy guitars, just all just peaceful and just sitting back and relaxing, enjoying the music, that's on this record too. So I feel like there's something on this album for everybody to enjoy. You know, I love this record for many different reasons. It just has so many things I expected, and it has things that I wasn't really expecting too much of, but they really pushed the boundaries. You know, when I was saying before how this is kind of a refresh, a kind of a restart in a way, kind of, you know, restarting the whole Slipknot train that I used earlier, it really is. Because I see this album as kind of the album to kind of push them forward to continue on. And I hope so, because this album has so many things that's within it that I love so much that I want to hear more of. I want to hear this band explore more. You know, Point 5, The Great Chapter, simply is a fantastic record. It has everything that I wanted and more. Now, I love every single track on this album, but these are my personal favorite tracks that I recommend you check out if you've not heard this album, and if you have, then let me know in the comment section below what your favorite songs are from this record. So here are my top favorites, and it's basically most of the record, but anyways. XIX, the beginning of the album, a great intro, by the way, a great opening song. I love it to death. It's such a fantastic track. Sarcastrophe, I think that's how I pronounce it. I'm probably butchering that to death because, you know, I'm bad with words. Track number 2, AOV. Track number 3, The Devil and I, which is, of course, the second song they released. And the fans kind of had a negative reaction. This was kind of a really different track than the negative one. But I enjoy The Devil and I. It features one of the things that I really enjoy about this album. There's a lot of great choruses. And I really enjoy that about this record because there's a lot of great choruses and it's really catchy. And Devil and I has a very catchy chorus, especially from Corey. And definitely the musicianship as well is very catchy. It really does fit along with Corey, what he's doing for the chorus in The Devil and I. Track number 5, Killpop. Track number 6, Skeptic. Track number 8, Goodbye. I love Goodbye. The opening is just so peaceful, beautiful. It's just pulled back Slipknot. And then it gets a little bit heavier within the track, but I just love how this song opens up. And I love the transition from the peacefulness to the actual heaviness. So it's definitely a track worth checking out. Track number 9, Nomadic. Track number 10, The One That Kills the Least. I love this track. It's pretty lengthy name of a track, but I really enjoy this song because it has like some of those elements of Slipknot that I really enjoy. I enjoy the drumming on this track. I enjoy Corey Taylor's vocals, especially on this track. I think he does a great job. He does a great job throughout the record, but I really enjoyed the way he does The One That Kills the Least. Track number 12, Be Prepared for Hell. This is kind of a track leading into the negative one, but I enjoy Be Prepared for Hell because it's a very eerie and a very evil sounding, and that darkness element is especially present throughout this kind of intro track into the negative one. Track number 13, the negative one, of course. Track number 14, If Rain Is What You Want. Now, this is a great song to end the album, and it definitely ends the album in a way that you're not really expecting. You're expecting maybe this album to be kind of ending like the negative one, a very hectic, crazy track going all over the place, and they're going to end with a bang. They kind of end with a song that's just kind of, you know, it's kind of groovy, it's kind of catchy, it has this really a very eerie type of vibe, it has that darkness element over it. It's just kind of a different way to kind of end this album, because this album features so many different things that I think that it was probably hard for them to kind of figure out a way to actually finish the album off in the right way. And I think this is the best way they possibly could without making it being too weird and out there, because this song has some different sections that switches it up. But I think that this song kind of takes everything you've already heard from Point 5, The Great Chapter, you know, the first 13 tracks, and when you get to the final one, it kind of ends it on a nice note. So I got to give that song that. Now, as we all know, the actual band members themselves: Sid, turntables; Chris on percussion, backing vocals; Jim on guitars; Craig, sampling keyboards; Shawn, percussion, sound design, atmosphere; synthesizers, backing vocals. I'm just listing stuff off. Mick, guitars; and Corey. Now, it says on here, Corey played some bass, Mick played some bass. It says that Jim, who plays guitars, played bass. And it says session musicians: Donnie Steele, I'm probably hoping they didn't butcher that, bass, and Alessandro on bass. I think that's the guy they claim that's confirmed to be the actual new bass player. So I'm not gonna go through everybody because it'll take a very long time. What I will say is basically this: Corey Taylor is doing a fantastic job. His vocals are great. And what he really brings to this album, I think, is a lot of emotion with his lyrical content and the way he sings it and the way he says it, the way he screams it. His voice just sounds top-notch, in my personal opinion, on this album. The screams are fantastic and evil sounding. And when he gets through the singing, he really does have a really, I think, a beautiful singing voice. So it really does fit with this album, and it really does fit with what the music is doing. So I do have to say that he did a fantastic job. And I feel like that everybody did a great job. The only other things I will talk about, besides bass and drums, we'll get to in one quick second, is the guitars. The guitars in this album are big, they're in your face, and they get hectic, and when they do get hectic, it is a hectic ride. The riffs, I think, are very catchy. They're some mighty riffs. The solos that are throughout this record, there's some solos throughout this record, I think are very technical. They fit right along with the song, and I have to give credit to the guys, because the guitars, I think, are something that really is, that you really focus a lot on this record, because it's really something that's really pushing these songs along most of the time. So there is that. Finally, bass and drums. For me, you know, I didn't know if Slipknot was going to go the route of having the bass player not be heard on this record, because, you know, it's kind of hard, because live shows, you know, the person who's playing bass actually wasn't even present on stage. The person was actually behind the stage, out of people from not seeing the person and playing, and then you heard it, but that was it. So I didn't know if they were going to turn down the bass or anything, but you can clearly hear the bass. There's a bass solo. Sounds kind of a little bit like a bass solo on this record, and the bass can clearly be heard. So I'm glad that they chose that route and decided to let the bass player to actually play and to be heard. So I got to give them credit, and so that was a nice addition, and I'm going to give this guy a chance, whoever he is, if the band ever confirms or not, but give that guy a chance. The drummer on this album reminds me a lot of Joey. Now, if you were told Joey may or may not be on this album, if you listened to this album and didn't know that Joey left, you would say, I think Joey's playing on this album. It sounds like Joey. This guy has kind of a style like Joey, but he has kind of, you know, his style does switch up a little bit from here and there. So he does have a style to go along with this, but, you know, for what it is, I think like that the bass player and the drummer are doing a great job on this album, and everybody's doing a fantastic job. All the guys I listed, and of course the bass player and drummer, they all did a fantastic job. This album sounds fantastic. 0.5 The Gray Chapter is a fantastic record. This album, in my personal opinion, in conclusion, is definitely worth a 9 out of 10, maybe a 9.5 out of 10, but today it's going to be a 9. It definitely deserves that ranking. It deserves you to check it out if you've not heard it, and, you know, see what you think about this record, because it is worth your time. You know, Slipknot's back, whether you accept the fact that they're still Slipknot because of what's happened in between, you know, the last release to now. But for me, this is definitely a album worth checking out, and I loved every minute of it. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this album in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, like the video. If you want to see me or more of my stuff, click my name or subscribe until I, leave to see more. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.